welcome to imagineNATIVE's first ever Directors Series. 2 panels and 2 masterclasses on the art and practicalities of directing. We hope that you can join us for all 4 discussions. They're happening Friday, August 28th at 3 and 7 p.m. EST, as well as Saturday, August 29th at 3 and 7 p.m. EST. As with our in-person events, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the land that imagineNATIVE is on. It's the treaty territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit. It's the traditional territories of the Haudenosaunee, Anishinaabe, and Huron-Wendat peoples. It is subject to the Dish with One Spoon Wampum, a treaty between the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe peoples, and this land has been stewarded by Indigenous peoples and nations since time immemorial. I would also like to take a moment to thank our sponsors, the Canada Council for the Arts, Ontario Creates, the Toronto Arts Council, our lead industry partner Netflix, and the Directors Guild of Canada. We thank you so much for your support. I hope that you enjoy the conversations that you're about to see, and please type your questions into the live chat. We will be taking audience questions after each discussion, and I hope to see you again for the annual imagineNATIVE Festival, October 20th to 25th. Bye now. Welcome everyone to our panel for imagineNATIVE's first ever director series on directing actors and working with directors. I'm Adriana Chartram, the Institute Manager, and I have 3 amazing panelists here today, and I'm going to throw it over to you to do some brief intros. So we can start with Darlene.
Hi, Darlene Naponse. I'm writer-director from Atikamek Anishinaabe, and yeah, I'm really happy to talk with everybody today.
Lorne?
Hi, Lorne Cardinal, actor, director, stage, film, radio, when they used to have radio. And yeah, talking to you from Squamish.
And last but not least, Zoe.
I'm Zoe Hopkins. I'm talking to you from Six Nations, and I'm a director and was lucky to have worked with Lorne twice on both of my feature films.
Yeah, so we are here today to talk about sort of the art and practicality of directing actors and working with directors from sort of 2 sides, the director and the actor side. So why don't we start with, for actually the directors, this one's for you. How do you approach directing actors? Like, what's your sort of typical style on set? Do you always come at it from the same way, or does it depend on the production, the actors, and things like that?
I think it depends largely on the actor. I like to try, like, I don't know, I think one of my human skills, not just necessarily my directing skills, is like figuring out how people work, you know, and like paying attention to, you know, if somebody's listening to me or not, or comprehending, or, you know, and trying to be aware when I'm not communicating perfectly for their style of listening, or, you know. So, and it depends on if the actor is a kid, or, you know, or has some things like ADD, or, you know, like I've worked with a lot of different kinds of people, you know, and people have, you really notice like what people's like attention span or like listening style is, you know, when you're directing. You know, I notice it when I'm talking to people, but like when you're directing, you can really see in someone's eyes like, oh, I know this take isn't going to go well because one of the people didn't absorb it, you know. And you have like your zone out, it's a long day, you know, that kind of thing happens. But you know, some people have a different style, and so sort of learning how to communicate with individuals is really important. And that's not a blanket thing, you know. You can't apply the same style to every actor or every person. So I think it's like just a matter of like getting to know people, you know, and like figuring out, you know, how to communicate with people and in a way that makes them feel comfortable, and figuring out how to have fun too. I really think it's important that work on set be fun. So I try to be lighthearted, and, you know, never lose my cool. And, you know, it's a stressful day for everybody, but like I really try to find a way to make it easy for everyone as much as possible.
And Lauren, you could also speak to the sort of flip side, the acting side of this. Like, when does that sort of getting to know each other start? Like, does it just start right on set on the first day through like observational, just observing how they're working, or do you try to meet with actors first? Like, how do you go about that sort of getting to know people's acting styles
Well,
or styles?
Well, because we're in Canada, we don't get a lot of rehearsal time. So we don't get that. Usually the first time you meet everyone is the first day on set. So you just kind of find your scene partner that you're working with and trying to just connect and chat and say hi and read the scene a couple of times and just to get a vibe on where they're going and what you can do. And then, working with Zoe a few times, she knows that color crayon drawings help me a lot because I'm a visual learner. Anything's in crayon, but Zoe's right, because I also direct as well, and it's right. You have to find how each actor comprehends, takes in information, and everyone's different. There is no one way. I mean, I worked with an actor once who understood and worked better using dance terminology than anything else, and so you have to really work to find that ways to communicate with everybody.
Yeah, sounds like there's like a lot of sort of nimbleness involved in adjusting sort of communication strategies and figuring out what works best.
Yeah, you have to, because then you have to talk to your crew as well. So there's like many different levels going on at the same time. So yeah.
Darlene, I know that you directed Lorne Cardinal in her first starring role in Falls your feature. So I was wondering about that process, like how you intend to sort of work together. How was that character developed? How did that sort of director-actor relationship work for that film in particular?
Yeah, specifically for Falls Around Her, I always had Tantu in mind when I was writing it. So I did play within the writing of what I wanted to from Tantu and what I've seen of her. We tried to come up with a plan of how we were going to find Mary in the story and then develop that. And because it was such a demanding role, it's like, she's in 90% of the film, aside from a couple of, birch trees, that took over a scene. So it was just really finding that connection. Like Zoe was saying, yeah, it's like connecting and knowing and trusting. And being okay to know that maybe what you want has to change sometimes because of situations. Script has to change, you know what I mean? You're on the day and everything is moving. But also being okay to push for what you want. And then just finding the time to go, okay, so we're going to try this, but let's try this also. And so you have to really respect each other in that sense to know. So you can't just be commanding something. It has to be, like a balance and really, respecting but knowing. You have to know you have to know your character.
I was wondering, in terms of Kayak to Clem too, the feature, Zoe, that you directed and Lauren, you acted in. Great film. Yeah, got the poster.
Yeah.
Like a family sort of adventure story, I guess I would categorize it as. And there's quite a few scenes in like really remote terrain or what looks like really remote terrain, and of course kayaking scenes. So I was wondering if you two could just speak to sort of any special considerations in acting, directing, how to get a performance out of actors in those kinds of situations. Like, was it hard? Was it easy? How do you act like kayaking? It's like,
I was so lucky because the performances were the thing that I had to worry about the least. We had a limited amount of time. All the locations were as remote as they looked. We didn't shoot in Vancouver Harbor or anything like that. We went all up and down the coast, so we were, in the ocean. And they were really kayaking. And I think everybody started off with like very little or no kayaking skills, and like, we had a lesson together on a first day, or before our first day of shooting. Like we had one afternoon really where we all went out, and I went with them because I wanted to like be, you know, there in solidarity, like learning how to kayak, and just to know what it was like, you know, and trying to tell them like, be more over here. Like I felt like I should know how easy or difficult that would be, you know. And so like getting all the boats to line up and with each other and with the camera, that was kind of a treat, special treat. But then also, you know, yeah, they had to have dialogue and like and act, you know, while they were doing this physical thing. And like honestly, I'm really I don't know, in hindsight, like looking back, going, really, there was no takes that were like blown because I'm like, oh God, they just can't get it right. You know, it was like external things like boats not quite lining up, or you know, the camera boat would shift, or you know, like there was like multiple boats in play. You know, we're on a camera boat, and our boat's moving, and their boats are moving, and you know, I don't know. So it was kind of crazy. But I think Lorne who's our consummate professional, had the biggest stuff to do in terms of like having dialogue while being in the boat. Like one of my favorite scenes is the divorce boat scene in into where Lorne is in the stern of the tandem kayak and is having dialogue with the person in the bow of the kayak, and so they're talking to each other like this and arguing about how Lorne can't hear the person in the front, and that's one of my favorite scenes. It was so fun to write it, and it just came out exactly how it sounded in my head, which doesn't always happen. Like Darlene said about, you know, being willing to sort of change how you heard things or how you wrote things, because sometimes, you know, you hear it in your head one way and then it comes out an actor's mouth in a different way, and sometimes that different way is a beautiful gift and you're like, oh, that's so much better than how I ever wrote it or heard it. And then sometimes, you know, the way you wrote something just doesn't fit into their way of speech, or it's a word that they don't use and it sounds weird, you know. So then you're like, okay, say it this way, say it a different way that makes you feel more comfortable. But like that scene was like so exciting because I was like, this is exactly how I imagined it. And that sometimes is so exciting. It's also exciting when things change and it's new and different and better, you know. That's also really exciting. But yeah, the physical stuff, Lorne, tell us about.
Well, the sitting in the kayak all day is, you know, it's pretty hard.
Yeah, the wetsuit.
But there were so many elements involved. I think we were really, really blessed with weather. It only rained on our days off. And we had a crew of 21, and we had the absolute perfect people to do this remote stuff. And as an actor, you have to put your ego aside. And when you're shooting on location, I mean, we've rehearsed. By the time we get to the camera, the water's come up 2 feet. So you're fighting tide and time and sun, all these things. So as an actor, you should be prepared when you hit the set to know your lines, you know what you're going to do. And also there's the thing that I think actors should know, which a lot don't, is that when you're working with the scene or you have an idea on a different take or something, it's good to broach it. But also, it's very important to try what the director says first, because I see too many, and I've experienced it a few times where they go, oh, no, I'm going to do it this way as well. Let's try my idea first, because it connects to a bunch of other things first. So, you know, it's doing the respect of trying the director's ideas first. And then it could change your ideas as well, which can add and add. But if you come in there and thinking, I know it, I'm going to do it, it's going to be a long day, and it's not going to be a harmonious set. But yeah, so when you're shooting in locations in a small crew like that, it's the, you know, what Clint Eastwood says, everyone grab a sandbag. Don't go back empty-handed. Everyone pitch in. You know, there's no, you know, there's the unions and stuff, which you can't cross departments, but it's like, you know, no. If you're fighting the tide, if you got so much time and you have to get to another location, grab something, help somebody out, you know, help the wardrobe guy with his pile of dry clothes and wet clothes that one person had to mule back and forth to the motel to the boat. And it's like, I can't sit here and watch a guy bent over backwards carrying all this gear and he's got 4 trips to do. It's like, no, I'm gonna pitch in there and help him and carry the stinky clothes.
Yeah.
Cardinal, hardest working actor. Oh my God. So he'd see like, oh, you need that kayak move, to like he's over there picking up the boats and moving them around. It was incredible to watch him work.
Yeah, it was fun. It was totally great to be on, and working with young actors too is it's a very special time, and teaching them how to, if your way of listening is not looking at the director, at least look at once or twice just to let them know that you're hearing them. It's, instead of like over here going, it's like, oh my Lord.
You were
Almost
such a
got the
good
bannock slapper
uncle.
out. What's that?
You were such a good uncle, because one thing about working with the young people, especially when, I could tell sometimes they weren't listening, or like losing their wardrobe in the forest, or, stuff like that. Where's your life jacket? Oh, somewhere in the forest, because I took it off when I went away by myself and didn't tell anyone where I was going, stuff like that. Like, it's difficult for me to like come down on them like with my auntie voice, because I want to save that relationship with them, and like not have them think that I'm mad at them or have them resent what I'm saying to them. But Lorne would just like pipe up and be like, come on guys, get it together, and like he pulled uncle voice, and that was really, really helpful for me to sort of save my relationship with them. And like I needed Uncle Lorne sometimes to get the kids into shape. That was so great.
Yeah. I wonder, like, it sounds like amazing, when things work out that way, when actors are willing to pitch in that way, and that mutual respect is there. So what are some of the strategies if it's not there? I know Darlene, I'm not saying about any of your actors, but I know that you filmed Falls Around Her on your reserve. So it was very important to be very respectful of the land, not to leave any sort of trash or anything behind. So just certain protocols like that. Are there ever situations where you find someone's really not following it, and do you have any strategies for sort of communicating that to actors, in a way that's not going to sort of rupture your relationship, I guess, your working relationship?
Yeah, no, it's really important. I talked to all of the crew and cast beforehand, and state what's gonna like, where we're gonna be shooting, talk about the community, talk about how we're gonna be doing it, the importance that we're not putting anybody out of their lifestyle, you know what I mean, and that we can fit in to the community. Yeah, that practice of, you know what I mean, a very small footprint. So we talk about those things, and mostly about the relationship too with the community, where they can and cannot go. Yeah, we create all of that beforehand, and then, and then we continue working on it. And sometimes, I'll be honest, like, for this, there was a point in the film where I actually had to let go of one of my actors because of their behavior. And you know what I mean? This is the truths that happen, but we can't continue to support that, right? So we need to create spaces that are really respectful, and that can move forward. And so you have to prepare for those things, and you have to know who you're gonna, you know what I mean, like what it's all about. And sometimes it's not about, you know what I mean, the film. Sometimes it's about protecting people and making sure people feel good and feel safe, and that, you know what I mean, because the art around it, making films, is collaborative. And so you can't do it if there's, you know what I mean, if you're always getting, you know what I mean, some kind of thing at you, aside from, shooting on a reserve in Northern Ontario and, 10 feet of mud and snowstorms. But yeah, so there's always a balance that you have to kind of like keep working on every day, and you wake up and something new's happened and you have to deal with that.
It's exciting.
I'll have to remember next time stressful things happen that to reframe it as, this is exciting.
Manic smile on yours.
Yeah.
I don't have any wardrobe. This is exciting.
We started shooting and it was a snowstorm. This is exciting.
Yeah.
Our boat to Bella Bella canceled, and now I have to get 28 people in 3 kayaks from one end of Vancouver Island to Bella Bella.
Yeah.
Wow, that's exciting.
It's exciting. Look, is that a drone I see in the sky?
Now it's in the ocean. That's exciting.
That's what happened. That's what happened to us. We had a drone that decided that it needed to recharge, and drones GPS from where they're launched, not where their home base is. So the home base for the drone was on a barge, and it was moving. And the drone went, oh, I need some more battery power, so I'll go back to where the barge was, which is now water. And we just watched it as it just sank, all our day's footage.
Oh, we were on this little boat that was like, we were like, go, 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 go. And the boat was like, just going like,
That was a sad day, but it turned out, but things always happen. But if you do it in a good way, you're always rewarded. We did one scene where two kayaks are having a chat and stuff. And in between behind us, the seal pops up in the middle. It pops up. He just looks around. Oh, you guys acting?
Yeah.
Oh, can I get a permit? And so he dives back down. And then next time he comes up with a salmon in his mouth.
What?
Yeah. Wow.
Like, yeah. So we're just sitting there watching it, waiting for him to stop acting.
Yeah.
And it's like, so he dives back down with the salmon. So we just go, okay, back to the scene.
You stole the scene.
Yeah. It's just like upstaged by an otter.
Wow.
It was awesome.
I mean, it seems like you kind of touched on this already, but are there any other sort of strategies that you have or situations you've been in where, just try to maintain that atmosphere on set of collaboration, creativity, openness, or challenges to it that had to be resolved, either from directing side or acting side?
So for me as a director, there's not just one thing. Well, of course, you know what I mean? Like there's but I'm looking at the film. So I want everything to kind of like, I want wardrobe to be as essential as sound, as, you know what I mean, as everything. So trying to create an environment like that where it's this kind of, sometimes filmmaking and traditional filmmaking is a bit of a monster and a hierarchy, and so I'm always trying to challenge that and break it down where it's very cyclic in a sense, and we're very communal, and so that's challenging for a lot of people who are used to a certain way. So I'm always wanting people to be aware of that, where it's like, you're not important than anybody else. You know what I mean? We're all in this together. And, but we need to do a job too. So we have to be very clear. So sometimes things don't work out as you want. And that's why you have to be able to change right on the spot, or to develop a kind of a new idea or a different thread, and be able to lose a character, halfway through, shooting. And and then give it to other people, and then and then characters grow. So
like making a film, oh my gosh, there's just like a never-ending, it's like all these moving parts, but then like someone from the outside is constantly like throwing knives at all of your moving parts, and like they're all like, you're constantly having to juggle and keep all the balls in the air. And especially on a small budget movie that's moving on the road or on the water, our challenges were constantly logistical nightmares. Like we'd wake up to some enormous problem every single day, and I'd hit the ground running in a panic every day. And the DP and I were always saying it, that it's like we were building the bridge as we were driving across it. The whole time it felt like that. And the car never fell off. We were like, so we'd somehow make it to the end of every day and go like, oh my God, the car didn't fall off the bridge today somehow, But I think it was really like, we had, like Lorne said, just the best people for that journey that we made. It was just a crazy trip. And I can't really believe that we got a movie out of this crazy number of problems that we had. We'd say every day, like, our life was going along just fine. Then we decided to make this movie. and then it was just like this never-ending series of problems thrust at us. I had like a stress, like not an ulcer, but an injury to my stomach that took about 8 months to heal after production. Like I went to the doctor, and we were just shy of putting a camera down my throat to see what was all going on down there, because it was bad level amount of stress. But it's because you have to be every day like this, like jazz hands, everything's fine.
No problem.
And
my barnacle scrapes took about that long to heal too.
gosh. Lorne dives into the water on the first day. Beautiful shot. It made it in the movie. I didn't know he was going to dive in, but like it was very shallow water. He scraped his whole belly on the bottom of his barnacles, and he got up and he was like, la, la, and I called cut, and then like he's bleeding all down.
Nice scrape it. Yeah. It was another genius idea that I had, except I overestimated my launching power. I thought, yeah, I just jump here, then I just dive into the water, and what happened was, boom. It's like, oh, those aren't rocks, those are barnacles. It's all scraped. A couple layer of my dermal came off.
You still have scars?
No, it's gone now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not scarred for life.
Scarred by the experience.
Yeah. A little blood for the first day of shooting, a little offering to the ocean, and it worked out. It's good. Yeah, that's it. So that's one of the things that actors should know, especially when you're doing independent or smaller budget films, is that your job as the actor is to be ready to tuck and roll and to absorb challenges. So that means being prepared when you come to set, means knowing your lines, knowing your character arc, knowing what scene happened before for your character, when was the last time you saw him, and where does he go, where's his trajectory, and then you figure it out. So you come in with that, so you don't have the director hand holding you through the scene saying, no, not now, you have to do. You should know that that's your job as the actor, is to be prepared. So when you come to set, you're not flitting around, I want to discover the lines. It's like, no, now everyone's waiting for you while you learn your lines, you lazy actor. So
I like this answer.
The way you discover the lines fresh is by knowing it. And then when you come in, you can play with your other actor, your other people in the scene. If you know your lines, then that frees up everyone to play a bit and explore and push it and see how far it goes. But you can't do that if you come in and you're just trying to remember the order of the words. You're doing yourself and the whole crew a disservice. So be prepared. Know your lines.
Yeah. No, that's really essential. Glad you said that, because like I was saying, like I'll do my homework, and that's not just watching the films, but it's also talking to other directors or other people who have worked with other actors or crew, just so that, you know what I mean, there's an understanding of what their work ethic is and how they are to work with. And eachbody's, it's in situation is going to be different, but yeah, making sure that they can be prepared and that they can take on the position. And especially when you're shooting in really remote areas and really isolated areas, and you're not going to get, be able to just have a break and go from, grab yourself a Starbucks or whatever, people want to do. No, you're in the north, you're like, you know what I mean? You're in the bush, and yeah, we're going to take, 4x4s or canoes or kayaks or, whatever we can to get to set. And so making sure that the people that you're hiring, especially cast, understands that and is okay with that adventure. And you're making an adventure.
Absolutely. Lorne, you touched on something that I would really think would be a good aspect to this convo, is like in terms of working with actors and actors working with directors. I really appreciated what it was like to work with your amazing experience and skills like on set. But, when we got to the editing room, it was astonishing to see what a really experienced, high caliber actor can bring you in the edit room. And Lorne Cardinal is an editor's dream. We did a scene that I had in my mind would be a long, like 5-minute oneer. And we decided to end up splitting it in two. So we had like, I can't remember how many pages of dialogue, but it's mostly Lorne on a tirade, walking through this space. And so there's 3 actors moving through this really big warehouse through 2 sections of it. And they're like moving the whole time. So our whole team is moving the whole time. And it took us, we split it in half. Just to have an option to cut, but also because it looked cooler to be able to do that. So it wasn't just to make it easier on us as filmmakers, but it was because we actually thought it was a better scene if we split it. And so Lorne's talking and talking and talking, and you know, the camera's moving, the boom operator's moving, the focus puller's moving, you know, and so sometimes we're getting in our own way. We can see the crew in the shot, we get the boom in the shot, we can't all swing around fast enough to get out of our own way. So we end up doing like 16 takes of each half of that scene. And this is minutes and minutes of dialogue, and Lorne's just like going. And so there's a pivot point where he's marching around and he gets to one point and he spins, pivots, walks back this way, pivots this way, walks back that way, and carries on with the scene. And that pivot point was astonishing. You know, actors are supposed to remember, you know, oh, I was holding my cup with the right hand and then I took a sip after I said that word and then I put the cup down. You know, that's kind of very simple blocking. But he's like moving through this whole space. He would spin on a dime at the same word at the same point for each of those 16 takes, you know, so that's 32 times that he did, you know, this exact spin. And like, we could use any one of those takes except that the parts where we screwed it up, but but he had to drive that. And so that was simple things like watching him and another actor like pack up a bunch of stuff, you know, and he was always on the same point, you know, picking up this one bag, putting this same prop into this one bag at the same point. And, you know, the less experienced actor wasn't the case at all, you know, so I was just like, oh, Lorne needs to teach a course on blocking and, you know, how an actor should remember not just their lines, but where they are in the space in relation to those lines at all times, you know, because you're in the editing room and then all of a sudden you can only use one take because first the actor was over here, you know, when they said that line, and then the next time they were maybe over here, you know, and you can't use that take. So you end up limited if your actor isn't as prepared to remember all of those things. And I think some of that, would you say, Lorne, just comes with experience? Like, can you practice those things? Or
yeah, I learned all that kind of stuff from in my theater career when I do live theater. As an actor, you're in charge of your prop, so you can't depend on the props people. Before every show, you go check your props. That's what they do. You make sure that it's in the place where it's supposed to be, and you make sure it's there, and you keep track of where it goes, so you know where it is at the end of the day. So the props people aren't walking around. You go, oh yeah, I put it over here, and then it needs to be over there. So you have to be really aware. And I just know from directing and editing and watching masters work, the importance of hitting a mark and saying and knowing where your cup is. You know, I've worked with some incredible actors over my career, and I've always just been a sponge around them, like Michael Hogan and you know, Tantu and you know, Gordon Tatusis and Augie Schellenberg and all these guys, and watching them work are just masters at going, okay, I know this is where I put this, and this is where I put it, this is where it needs to be. And they're always, you know, they can do it over and over and over again. And once you get those things out of the way, then you're able to focus on performance, on meaning, on giving energy, a different read, different line read, because you've taken care of the small thing. You know, it doesn't become, you know, always the handle on a coffee cup, always point towards yourself, easy to remember. So when you do it, we go in for the close-ups and all the stuff, and you can match the master. It's because your handle is always pointed to you. Or, you know, you do little tricks like that. So it's always repetitive and repeatable. So when you do go in for the close-ups and stuff, your stuff is set. So you know where it is, and you don't depend on the props, because they'll come in and they say, I know it was on the table, and they'll just plop it anywhere. And then you keep track on your levels too, how much is in your level, because there's nothing worse than watching a movie and seeing a full glass, then a half glass, and then full again, all in the same scene. It's like, what? Yeah. I blame the actor for that, because it's their job too to keep track of what they're working with their hand props. It's your responsibility, so you should keep track of it and know where it is, and that way you can do repeatable things over and over again.
I just want to take that section of this video and show it to every new actor I work with. Lorne Cardinal says, this is your responsibility.
I mean, I think that's a great point, because I think a lot of, especially new actors coming in, probably don't have that more fuller understanding of filmmaking, like the understanding of editing and, continuity and those things. So it's definitely interesting to hear that, the actors should have that knowledge, and that's going to help on set. That's going to help in the editing room. That's going to make things flow more smoothly. It's not just about coming in and doing your, Oscar performance and whatnot.
Yeah, it's those little things that make it so that, that a director can use 100% of your take. If you're not doing the little things right, then in the editing room, we have to cut around you, and like, oh, they weren't in the right place. I actually have to cut out that line, so not knowing the little things, and they're not little things actually, it's easily half your job, to remember where to be and how to be. And, it's not just remembering lines, but, if you don't have the physical aspect down, then that means, we're having to cut out the performance just because we can't, forsake the continuity of props and blocking. You can't just like decide it's okay, for somebody, your filmmaking looks weird if somebody's all over the place.
Yeah. Can't decide to not bring in something that you brought in the master and say, oh, I didn't feel like it. It's like, this is not the part where it doesn't matter about what you think. Get your prop,
It's always, and it's sad to cut someone's performance down just based on those technical things. You never want to have to do that, but it happens.
Sorry, as a director, I think it's like you're creating a space, like, you know what I mean, that actors can do their job. And so I always go in believing that, they know what their job is. I'm going to create a space so they can't, so their thoughts aren't broken, or like, there's like, not chaos coming in around them, that they understand where the camera's going to go, and and what angles we're going to go at, and where the boom's going to be. So, you can create that space for them to be as amazing as they are. And like, I remember I took a director's, acting for directors, or directors for acting, I don't know, it was one of those. Anyways, so basically I was like, I had to, act, and as a introvert, and I was like, I can't memorize all of that. You know what I mean? Like, but I really, it's, you know what I mean? I think it's like, as when I was younger, I was like, I had to understand what an actor would go through to understand how to direct them more, and like the challenges that they have, the way that a monologue will fall, the words, where they go, you know what I mean? Like how they can move in those words, how much action I can have. And working with Ken too, when I first worked with her on Every Emotion Costs, she pushed me so much in understanding that level of professionalism. And that's what wanted me to work with her again. And of course, because she's Ken too, and she's wonderful. And on screen, she's just, like I said, she's just so amazing. And I knew that I wanted people to see that, like, you know what I mean? That expression, that power, that strength, that beauty, that wonder that can be seen on screen. And so, so wanting to always make that space available for them so they can do whatever they want, you know what I mean? And there's that freedom. But yet within, you know what I mean, all of those conversations, you're talking about the aesthetics and kind of like that emotional response that I'm always looking for.
It's a double-edged sword, because you don't want the actor to come in and be so focused on where everything is and then forget about the scene, what you're doing. I mean, it's a double, you have to find that balance. Everything's about balance. And as an actor too, it's also being aware of what the crew is doing. It's not all about you. I can't believe I just said that. But being able to work with like your DOP, I remember doing a movie, and I was going to be coming out of this car, and on the way, I just decided to I was going to do a slip, fall, and a roll. And I told my director, I said, I think this will work. This will help. And he goes, we don't need it. And I go, we don't need it, but it's going to look great. And he goes, we don't need it. And I went, huh. So I went to my camera operator on a camera and I said, Daryl, just so you know, I'm going to be coming out of the car and I'll be doing a little flip roll. He goes, oh, that'd be cool. So thanks for letting me know. So he was able to widen out a bit to allow me room. And so when we did do it, I was able to do it and it was in frame. You know, it's nothing like having a great idea that's not in frame. It doesn't count. So just, you know, and he was able to pull back just a bit, just enough to let me do my little thing there, and it worked, and it made the movie. So it made it in the movie. It wasn't about the fall, but I mean, just being that aware of knowing and asking, being aware of, see, everything is about learning this stuff and then forgetting it. Knowing what the camera's seeing, where the camera's going to be focused. As an actor, it's just, so I come in, do you want me to sit down or do you want me to slide in, or so you know what the camera's doing, so you can help each other out that way. So it's a balance, it's a dance, and then you have to forget it all because you can't focus on that stuff. You have to focus on the scene with the person. But it takes a while to get used to knowing where the camera is and then forgetting about it, and just knowing that where it's going to go, and be aware of its trajectory so you can do your thing and it can catch you at the right thing. So
Yeah.
it's a dance. It's a great dance.
It's a beautiful, yeah, it's a great dance. And I think sometimes I think about, you know, like I think about that one scene with Tantu by the fire, and just making sure that, you know what I mean, again, like that there's a safety in there, like, you know what I mean, there's no, it's just me and her, the camera, you know what I mean, and her, and so that an actor can find themselves and be free within that scene and not have to be, you know what I mean, all of these things at them, you know what I mean, so that in some ways those scenes can be, if they need to be sacred or if they need to be just intimate, you know, so we're allowing ourselves to do that, and then having that conversation and talking about exactly where every little moving, you know what I mean, part is, so that they know, and that so Tantu, you know what I mean, can find that spot when she was wanting to do it.
Oh, I wish she was here. I was like,
I know.
you know, I loved your film so much, Darlene, and
Yeah.
it was so, you know, Tantu's such a hero of mine, you know, since I was a teenager. I was in that movie Black Robe, and she was a lead in that film, and like that's where I fell in love with movie making, was being on that set when I was 15 years old. And she looked at me one day on set and she was like, grabbed me by my hair and she was like, oh no, you got the bug. You're never getting out of this business. And it's true. I never have left. I've never had, you know, a normal job. But, you know, her time had come, you know, to see her in the lead. And when the opening images of your film came up and I saw, you know, her beautiful face and how poetic you made those opening images, I just started crying. Because this is like a long time coming for us to see.
Yeah, way overdue. Way overdue.
So I was just like, oh my gosh, it's finally happening, and she looks so beautiful. And I was like, yeah. So thank you.
Wow, my gosh, thanks. Yeah, no, it was an honor on my, you know what I mean, just to be able to. When she said no, she was like hesitant, and I was like, oh, how do I convince her? You know what I mean? And then I'm like, no, it has to be Tantu to be in this film.
Yeah. I can't imagine.
And then when we were like, yes, let's go ahead, and I was like, okay, we got to go full force. No stopping on this. Yeah.
Fortunately, we're winding down on our time here. So maybe I'll just end with my last question that I'll throw out to all of you. So your number one do and your number one don't working with directing or acting. Maybe you've already covered it sort of and you want to just reiterate it, but like, what do you want people to know? Don't do this and do this.
I think for one of the actors, I think I mentioned it before, don't come unprepared. Do let people know where you're going. Don't just leave set and go wandering around because people are waiting for. I hate that when you're trying to get something done and you're looking, where's the actor? And no one knows because, oh, I just went out for over there to see, to relax a bit. Let people know. That's what ADs are for. You let them know where you are so we can get you back in and we can keep moving.
Very interesting, yeah.
Don't settle.
Mm-hmm.
Which is something, you know, when it's the time is ticking, you're losing the light, you know, you're going to lose an actor, or whatever. It's easy to say to yourself in your mind, that was good enough, let's move on. But don't settle. You can make room for one more. And make your adjustments and like get what you want, get what you need. And do be open and willing and happy to collaborate and, open to a new thing. Like you're constantly rewriting all day, in little small ways, but do you engage with collaboration?
Yes. Don't let the little things get in the way, because there's a lot of little things that will happen and which turn into big things. And you know what I mean? Just work it out and do be brave.
Yeah, that's my favorite.
Yeah. Well, amazing. Thank you all so much for this wonderful discussion.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you
for inviting me.
So we will be back with a live audience Q&A right after this. And thank you so much for watching.
Become a doctor, kids. Become a doctor.
Oh,
yeah.
It's still being recorded. I just said.
Oh, play a doctor, folks. Play a doctor.
Yeah, play a doctor.
I'm just.
You're just writing down an idea?
I'm just thinking of something.
That was dirty. Go ahead.
Well, I should have kept this hair.
Oh yeah,
that's awesome.
That was good. Yeah.
And I also think too, like, you know what I mean? Like, I think as Indigenous, crew and cast and directors and writers, like, we always have this reciprocity. You know what I mean? Like, like you're just saying, like, how am I going to give back now? You know what I mean? Like, I'm taking, so I have to be able to, you know what I mean? Feel like there's something that I'm, you know what I mean? Being able to give back.
So let's get into some questions. So the first question is for Lorne. What has been your favorite role / character to play, and why?
Oh, geez, I've had a lot of fun ones. I can narrow it down. Playing Little Badman on the Big Bear story that we did for CBC was fun because I got to be on a horse every day, pretty much.
Oh,
yeah.
Hard to act on a horse.
Yeah, I had a movie horse, so he knew how to hit his mark. He knew how to make me look better, which was awesome. And also, Davis Quinton's also another favorite as well because he's so much fun. He's such a spirit.
Yeah, that's great. And I guess Zoe, I could ask you, what's the favorite character you've ever written or created on screen in your films?
I had a blast writing Lorne's character in Kayak to Clim too, that's for sure. Aww. I could just hear him in my head. And so, I couldn't ever imagine anyone else being that guy. And I can't really do a good impression of Lorne, but like my brain can. So and it's funny. Yeah, it's funny to write such crotchety, crabby lines for somebody when they're, you can imagine them doing that, but if you know Lorne in real life, like he's just exactly the opposite of that. So, no, but mind you, I haven't seen him I've seen or heard much of him pre-coffee. So
that might be when he's
different animal altogether.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I'm just getting notice that people didn't hear me say Darlene can't join us today. So Darlene, unfortunately, can't join us. She's in the bush with no internet. But we're happy to have Lorne and Zoe.
So we'll go into the next question. As directors, when you watch someone else's film, are you able to get lost in the story, or do you find yourself analyzing the camera angles and other directorial choices? And I guess, you know, you could come from a director perspective or an actor perspective as well, Lorne.
It depends. Like if I get distracted, you know, then I get into watching the technical stuff. But if the story is so good and the performance is so good, like then I'm sucked right in. But sometimes, you know, even if it is so good and I'm sucked into the story, I'm like, oh my God, this is like one shot for 12 minutes. I'm so amazed, you know, or, you know, like looking at, imagine, you know, watching a little bit older movies. I was like, oh my gosh, they made this before drones, you know, and they have this like epic helicopter shot that like seamlessly cuts into the scene. You know, it depends, you know, but I definitely notice how film school and movie making has ruined the like magic a little tiny bit, you know.
Yeah, it's when the story is good and the acting is good, it's great. But when the script is weak, it pulls me right out, because I just get lost. I go, I don't believe any of this.
Yeah.
Even the big budget ones, especially the big budget movies that are on. We were watching one the other night, and it was like, at the end, it's like, why am I angry at this? It's because it was a terrible script. It didn't decide what it wanted to do. So they end up looking, oh, that's interesting shot. Oh, but I like watching like Sound of Music. You know how many oneers they did in that whole thing, which is pretty mind-boggling. And One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, there's just a whole series of just no cuts, just all the way through. It's just a great ensemble acting and stuff. And I go, wow, that's pretty amazing.
So you almost have a heightened appreciation for the really good stuff, but also a heightened awareness of the bad stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Zoe, is there another genre that you'd love to work in, and why?
I'd like to make just like a pure comedy. You know, I have done lots of stuff that's sort of drama and with comedic flavors, you know, but I kind of wouldn't mind just like making something that's just pure, like a minute, like a laugh a page kind of thing, you know, just like laugh. And I also, like my recent film I'm just finishing right now is like a drama with comedic flavors and a little bit of a romantic flavor, but I would love to make just like a pure rom-com. That'd be really cool. Yeah.
Lorne, I know you've acted in quite a variety of genres, but is there anything you haven't done yet that you'd love to try or do more of?
Semi-nude ballet.
That would be a new one.
And that'd be really weird. But no, I'd love to do more Shakespeare, because I love working with the language. The language of Shakespeare is pretty awesome, and it's a great acting challenge. I think that if you can do Shakespeare, you can do anything pretty much. So I just like getting back to the basics, the roots, the fundamentals of the craft of acting. And Shakespeare demands it all from you. So
would you want to do it in theater or in film?
Either or. Either or would be great. I've never done Shakespeare on film, I don't think, but that'd be fun. That'd be another interesting look at it too, because there are two different techniques involved. So it would be a great challenge for sure.
Totally. Okay, our next question. Thank you for this incredible sharing and your amazing work. Starts off with, have you ever been asked
to you, Zoe?
Yeah. Have you ever been asked to do something that you didn't agree with ethically, and how did you navigate that?
Semi-nude ballet. I've been asked to do a few things, and which like get a script, and I go, this just isn't right. You know, as a Native Indigenous person, I would never. I don't have this worldview that you're asking me to say. So instead of just commenting on it negatively, I will bring a solution as well. That's how you make change, is you bring in ideas, solutions to the problem. Because if you just bring up the problem and you offer no solutions, it doesn't, you end up having to say it because there's no other, because other people can't think outside any other way except the way it was written. So if you bring in those offerings of, hey, but we could say it this way, which would make more sense, or we change this, then things can change more openly. But you have to do your homework before you make those suggestions.
Mm-hmm. I get asked to do a lot of historical stuff, either drama or documentary, and I'm just not interested. I feel like we have um, a beautiful myriad of lifestyles and stories to tell where we're modern day, living people.
Mhm.
And I think that's where I want to focus my energies. And like one time a producer asked me like why I didn't want to get involved, and I said because we're alive today and some people don't even know that. So I just kind of turn that kind of thing down. And it's not something, those aren't the stories that I really want to watch either. So I want to make stuff that I want to watch and that's entertaining, that shows like us now, because we're living, breathing, vital people.
Yeah, totally. Next question, Lorne, have you ever played a villain, or would you if you haven't?
Oh yeah, I love playing villains. I would love to play more villains.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did a Sam Shepard play where I was the bad guy. I did the oh, what the heck the name of it was, just recently, where I played a guy who's a trickster, shapeshifter kind of guy, and he was a bad guy too. So it was yeah, it was pretty awesome.
Yeah. Is it
I
fun
love
to
doing
play
that stuff because you don't have to worry about being liked by the audience. And in Arctic Air as well, I played a bad guy there, and that's the beauty of it, is you don't have to worry about being liked, or your character can be mean and dastardly, and it gives you a whole range of things to play. You don't have to be obvious about, oh, I'm a bad guy.
Yeah.
You can be the nice smiling bad guy who,
Which is
which
often the
pretty
more
fun.
interesting bad guy to watch on screen as well.
Yeah.
Do either of you have any upcoming projects that you're able to talk about?
I'm in Zoe's film that's coming out.
Oh, you work together? Yay!
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the yet to be named feature.
Yeah.
Yes.
Also doing FBI Most Wanted season 2 is coming back once they figure out the whole COVID protocols down in New York.
Yeah.
And then season 4 of Corner Gas is animated is coming, and Molly of Denali season 2 is coming out as well. So that thing's coming up. So,
yeah.
Awesome.
Zoe?
I'm finishing my second feature film right now. Currently, it's called Untitled Zoe Hopkins Project.
Oh, catchy.
I like that. I want the t-shirt.
Yeah.
I want the t-shirt.
Yeah. We're doing the sound mix this week. So, getting closer.
Yeah.
And who knows where it'll show up and when and all of that stuff. But you gotta just roll the dice and hope for a good premiere, and we'll see. Crossing the fingers.
That's such a crazy thing about this business. You work hard, you get the film done and shot in the can, and then well, I wouldn't want to say with the real work, but more work comes.
The second half
trying to get
of the
it
work
out to people. Yeah, it's a crazy it's a crazy business, and thanks for having the tenacity to stick it out.
Yeah, we're just at the whim of festival programmers and like what is what people are wanting to program and what the festivals, and it's such a weird time right now with the festivals sort of not knowing what they're gonna do. Is Sundance gonna be online, or they've already said they're going to spread out across I think 20 different cities instead of everything being in Park City. So will it be online in some of those cities? It's hard to know. It's such a crazy time, and just kind of a terrible time to release a film.
Yeah, I mean, also like distribution strategies must be all up in the air and messed up right now as well. Theaters aren't even really open in a lot of places, so
and even if they are, like, I don't want to go.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy. But what gives me a little bit of hope is the lovely screening that imagineNATIVE hosted at the Drive-In TO in Toronto last week. We showed Kayak to Climb 2, and that was so awesome. Like, just to be out watching any movie, but it was kind of so many layers of nostalgia, because I got to see my movie that I made. I hadn't watched it in a while, but it was fresh. And then just sit in the back seat of the car while my parents were sitting in the front seat, and I was just like laying in the back eating candies, watching it was like so nostalgic. And then looking around in the cars beside me, I got to see some people I know through their car windows and stuff, so it was like kind of hopeful. And then everybody honked at the end, and it was it felt like a thing.
Awesome.
And it gave me hope that there could one day be a a public screening of this next film in some shape or form. And, you know, because at the beginning of the pandemic, I was like, oh, this movie's going to go online and that's it. And that's sad. But yeah, because as a filmmaker, you get a lot out of seeing your film in front of other people.
Oh, cool. I'm glad you enjoyed the experience. Yeah, that's great.
It was awesome.
So someone here says, Zoe mentioned Lorne is the dream actor in the course of the panel. So Lorne, what would be the dream qualities you would want in a director directing you?
About hair about this long,
brown eyes.
Red earrings. Gotta have red earrings, otherwise.
Red earrings, yeah.
Oh, what a surprise! But actually, somebody with the qualities of Zoe. If not Zoe, then somebody with the same quality. Somebody who's written a very fine script, who's done very great work. So you don't have to work so hard to try and make something, you know, better that isn't exactly great. So, and open to collaboration and sharing ideas and not being afraid to change or adapt or whatever. And that, you know, that's always fun too. And always the challenge from the director to the actor to change their ideas of their character as well. So, you know, it's nice when you can collaborate with someone who's intelligent and insightful and has talent and great intuition. Go, you know what, you know, might not try and be a ham this time. And they're like, oh, okay, that's different.
Who would be like a director, like a dream director you would love to work with?
Yeah, that's a good one.
I don't know. I would like to work with Christopher Nolan again in a bigger role, because he's pretty fun to. Watching him work on Insomnia was pretty amazing. Watching him work with Oscar winners, and he was always like on their shoulder. As soon as the yell cut, he was standing right beside him, and they were yapping and stuff. And it was like, he's pretty cool. It's pretty nice, you know, relaxed dude. He wasn't a screamer, you know. You can always tell the kind of director it is when the crew is nice and relaxed and having a good time. And they don't they don't let things get out of control, because they have respect for the director and the people working. So they're putting in their effort too to make it better as well. So you go, this is a really good set. It's a really good leader of the team when you have that kind of atmosphere to work in. It's great.
Awesome. So I think we have time for one more question, and then I'll announce the winner of our audience draw. So the last question we have is, do you incorporate any wellness, self-care, or spiritual rituals while you're on set? And if so, what are they?
I like to, it's hard for me to try to remember to do this every day, but I'm certainly on the first day and on any big days or hard days, I like to do like just a group opening, and I'll use the Mohawk opening address to open the day and just remind people, you know, like the reasons why we're doing this, and just to be thankful for all of their hard work. And so I just try to remember and communicate to people a few times throughout the production that their work and their time away from their families and whatnot is really valued, and that it's going towards something that means a lot to me, and it's not just, we're not just all there to feed the machine. So it's important for me to know that. So I don't know, I think that does something. I see people, you know, feel good, you know, that their work is valued. So I think that's an important part of wellness. And then I don't know, I try to remember to drink water, but I'm bad at it.
Same kind of thing. Giving thanks. I mean, first thing when I get a Landon audition and get the role, first thing is I'm grateful, and then I try and do my part to help bring the story forward, and that's by being prepared and centered and realizing it's not all about me, it's about everyone on this production. And also just bringing the knowledge of that I'm not alone, that I have my ancestors behind me if I get lost or bogged down. If it's really emotional stuff, then I rely heavily on that, so I can go to those dark places and not be afraid of getting stuck there and bringing that negative energies home with me. So it's important to take those moments to just calm yourself down, give thanks, and just give thanks and know that keep little things in mind, is that, you know, we're the we're the hope of our ancestors. You know, what we're doing is what they'd hoped for their lives. So, you know, we just keep carrying that forward, you know, just opening up doors for others, and just keep those things in mind and try and keep grounded, because it is a crazy business, especially when you start getting popular or well known and stuff. It can really distort your self-image and really distort your reality, and it can be unbalancing for some. So it's important just to keep grounded, know who your people are, where you're from, and that you're just a small strand in the web. So
that was beautiful words to end our Q&A period on. Thank you.
Yeah.
So we are doing a draw for an audience member to win a digital ticket to see CBC's The Trickster at TIFF. So I'm going to announce the name of the winner. It is Jean Rubin. Congrats, Jean. We'll be in contact with you. Yay!
Yay, it'll be fun. Bring some popcorn.
Yeah. And thank you so much, Zoe and Lorne, for being back here today with us and answering these questions. It was great to see you and to have this talk.
Great.
Good work, guys. You've been doing.
Yeah, great job, everybody.
Yeah.
Thanks, imagineNATIVE.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you.